Support for Jalen and Jacoby comes from Blue Apron. Blue Apron delivers farm-fresh, perfectly portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes so you can make incredible meals at home. Rediscover how fun cooking can be while reducing food waste and supporting sustainable farms and fisheries. Visit blueapron.com/Jalen to get your first 3 meals, a $30 value, free with free shipping.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, though?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What is it that we do?
We get the fine individuals
Those
that
people.
have consistently supported this program at least 5 years, exactly what they want, when they want it, as they need it.
Let's do that right now. The people of Boston that attended the game in the Garden got exactly what they wanted when they watched the Celtics absolutely dominate the Wizards from the very beginning to the very end of the game. How can the Wizards win this series?
Usually when you're playing at home and it plays out beautifully during this series, your role players shine. So if you watch the previous game in Washington, it was Otto Porter. It was Bogdanovich. In the last game, it was Avery Bradley. 25 points in the first half. He carried the day. The Wizards made an adjustment that they were going to double-team Isaiah Thomas as much as possible. He made the adjustment, giving up the basketball. Al Horford has been a secondary playmaker for them all year, had a career high in assists, was getting boards, was even scoring. I was a person that when they signed him to his major deal, I wanted to see this Al Horford all year, getting the points in particular. So Avery Bradley, Al Horford were there so that Isaiah Thomas didn't have to have that astronomical game for the home team to win.
So they're doubling Isaiah Thomas, taking the ball out of his hands. Is it just coincidence that everybody on the Celtics was hitting their threes? It's like, all right, we're going to double Isaiah Thomas, get out of his hands. We have Marcus Smart hitting from deep. You've got Crowder again hot from three with Avery Bradley absolutely on fire in the first half. Can we expect that to continue when they go down to D.C. for Game 6?
That's always the challenge for players. Does your game travel? And so usually your best players carry the day on the road. They get it started. They get you into your sets. Hopefully they get off to a good start that everybody can rally around. And that's not just necessarily scoring. A lot of times it's creating shots to see where everybody else is. But more importantly, being able to stop the bleeding when it's needed. If it's a 6-0 run, you hope your best player's there. When it's an 8-2 run, you hope your best player's there. And then the role players are allowed to work themselves into the game. But when you're playing at home, it's just the opposite. Everybody's feeling good. Smart is like, I'm open. Crowder's like, I'm open. And then you step up and you shoot with confidence and you play as such. Because one of the things that the Celtics has that gets overlooked when you look at their roster is toughness. That's what I like about their team. Guys that want to play defense, they want to do the dirty work, that aren't always thumping their chest and pointing at the sky. There's actually guys just out there, as we say, strapping up and playing ball.
Yeah.
And so that's what you get more of from them on their home floor. Will those games travel to Washington? That remains to be seen. I anticipate, however, the Wizards, in particular Bradley Beal, Otto Porter, Bogdanovich, Markieff Morris, Marcin Gortat, all of those guys are going to play better in Washington, and they're going to win Game 6.
I think they're going to win Game 6 as well. Tell me I'm wrong about this, because I'm watching this game, and especially when the Wizards have the ball, I am keyed on Isaiah Thomas. Who is he guarding, and are the Wizards trying to exploit that? And sometimes they do, but they don't enough to my liking. Tell me why I am wrong, because I imagine that Scotty Brooks has put more thought into this than I have.
Because the guy I'm trying to use to take advantage of Isaiah Thomas on this team hasn't been a go-to player that is used to getting 15 shots per night.
Occasionally, though. Like sometimes he'll get switched on to Beal and Wall. He covers Beal and Wall on possessions, and they don't get the ball to that person.
What they've been able to do on the weak side is they invert a lot.
What's
so
that mean?
The person that's in the corner on the weak side of the action, you're able to put Isaiah on him because he's usually not going to be a part of the play. And you're able to flip the people on the weak side Isaiah can always flow to the guy that's not a part of the action.
So it could be Markieff Morris even in the corner, and Isaiah ends up covering him because everybody knows that Markieff Morris is not going to get involved in the action.
That's truly what you're seeing. So you might look at a set. The other team knows what you're running. They know what the keys are. They know who you're trying to get the ball to.
Yeah, Game 5 of the series is no secret.
So what you do is you put him on the guy that is least likely to be a part of the play. And if you're Scott Brooks, you can't distort everything you're doing like it's at a park. Like, clear it out, move.
That's
you come here. Because all they do, and that's what I'm talking about, inverting. You think you run an Isaiah over, teams can zone. Anybody can now all of a sudden follow that guy over. So you're not truly getting the advantage. But the guy who he's guarding doesn't necessarily have to be a part of that set or that play to take advantage of him. That's why you offensive rebound. That's why you cut harder. That's why you set better screens. You can still be a function of the play and take advantage of a guy that's 5'9" that they're trying to use on you because they think you're not going to be a factor on the possession.
I do want to say to Isaiah Thomas's defensive credit, like, sure, you can look at the numbers and say he's the 461st best on-ball defender, whatever, but when you watch the actual games and when he gets the feeling that they're trying to sort of ISO him, and he can really get strong and get into a stance and get a stop when he wants to, even though the numbers don't show that. There's this also, that Marcin Gortat is said that Avery Bradley threatened to beat him up in Game 4. What? You've been on the floor in the NBA. What does this tell you?
Just bring it. We need you to be tougher. We need you to be more physical. Yeah. If he's able to play consistently like we saw Al Horford just play in the previous game, that now creates a level of balance that the Wizards don't always have. When they play well, it shouldn't be because Wall and Beal have to get 55 or 60. It should be that John Wall can still facilitate and get his points. Bradley Beal can pick and choose his spots and try to get you 20 to 25. But you're going to need Markieff Morris, and especially you're going to need Marcin Gortat because his points come different. A lot of them are physical plays. Back to the basket, face up 8 to 10 feet, getting offensive rebounds, getting to the free throw line, and then that now keys him to get more boards, to get more blocks. And they're going to need that if they're going to win this series.
The Boston crowd started to chant in the second half, "Bleep you Oubre." Is that out of bounds?
Not at all. Not at all.
Comes
with the territory.
Thank you. Because I get it. Oh, there's kids there, whatever. But listen, it was probably like a 15-second thing. And you know what? This is a road game, and we're going to make it as uncomfortable for you as possible. Yep. Jalen Rose, we know who's going to be in the finals. It's going to be the Cavs and the Warriors. We are now 20 days away from the first trilogy in the history of the NBA Finals. Ty Lue went on wax and said that the Warriors-Cavaliers rivalry mirrors that of the great Lakers and Celtics rivalry. Is that out of bounds of him to say?
I want to quote a great American philosopher that has a platinum plaque hanging on the wall in the studio, Young Jeezy. That ain't this, and this ain't that. Everybody needs to stop reaching. The Lakers and the Celtics, what they were able to accomplish in particular in the 80s, that's the golden era of basketball. There's nothing that's going to happen that's going to change that.
Multiple championships on each side as well.
Just like when we talk about greatest players of all time. That's Michael Jordan. Nothing's going to change that. No. What continues to happen is we fantasy ourselves about what can take place. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won one championship, and so have the Golden State Warriors.
And if you remember, if you just got into Bill and Ted's phone booth and went a year ago today, it was, well, can the Warriors beat the Bulls in 1986, 7? You know, can this team beat that time? We're all hypothetical time traveling around. I don't think that this rivalry is up to the par of the Lakers-Celtics greatness. However, this is a rivalry. This is going to be the first trilogy in the history of the NBA Finals, and it's exciting.
But people should not only look at the rivalry aspect of, as you mentioned, the Lakers winning 5 championships, the Celtics winning 3 championships, them basically playing against each other 8 of the 10 times in the 80s in the NBA Finals. 7 of 8 years, one of those teams won a championship. That's utter dominance by 2 teams. Yep. But here's another thing that people have to pay attention to. It's not just about the basketball. It's about who's on the court.
That's a good point.
The last time I checked, didn't the Lakers have Magic, Kareem, Worthy on their squad?
At what point?
Yep. Didn't the Celtics have Bird, Parrish, McHale, DJ at some point? Yep. You know what those guys have in common? Besides Bill Walton, who was on the team that I missed, and I'm pretty sure I missed one or two more Lakers that probably accomplished this.
Sure.
They're all in the Hall of Fame, and they're all-time greats. And most of those guys are top 50 players of all time. And when I look at the Cavs' current roster,
There's one there.
they have LeBron James. When I look at the Golden State Warriors roster,
Remains to be seen.
they have guys that are going to project into those type of players, but aren't there yet. So I understand where people get excited about the first trilogy in NBA history that's going to take place this year, but we don't have to force comparisons.
It's just appreciate the moment. You don't have to love the moment so much and say, "Is this the best ever? Is this better than that in the past?" Just appreciate what is happening right now, which is two teams on a collision course in the NBA Finals for the first trilogy in the history of the Finals with the biggest names in the game.
Because that ain't this, and this ain't that.
Cavaliers have a lot of rest, a lot of time off, so they're doing some conditioning at their facility. While they are at conditioning, they have a live DJ spinning records. Did you ever have a live DJ at your conditioning?
Not a live DJ, but you see things evolve. There was a time when you could smoke on an airplane. You didn't have to use your seatbelt when you got into a vehicle. Things evolve sometimes for the better. And athletes have always used music as a soundtrack before, during, and after basketball games. So much so, when you're in the arenas, I saw it evolve from, whoop, there it is, to, man, they playing that in here? Like,
I
wow.
like it. It's listen, you're going to have a playlist. You've got the money. Make it more exciting. You got me in here for 3 hours working out. You know what I mean? Why not make it exciting? I'd appreciate it. Staying with the Cavs and Warriors. We all saw the headline. Draymond Green said the Cavs aren't playing anybody. He was on his podcast, and ESPN and other sports outlets ran with it. Fine. Here was his response. Quote, "I didn't say I was disappointed with their competition. First off, people always want to take a piece of a statement and say, ah, man, Draymond said the Cavs aren't playing anybody. They never say, Draymond said Cleveland is playing great basketball. Was Draymond treated unfairly by the media?"
I want to say this respectfully. This is one of those he say, she say things that I truly don't care about.
Just want to move on.
We make way too much of trying to mince people's words to try to make it into a headline, and then the player takes too much time and energy to try to defend 10% of what they said while we ignore the other 90%.
And then we go back and forth like a tennis match. Like, oh, well, you said this, and then, well, you said this about what I said that you said, and I understand. But at the same time, there is a part of it where it's like, oh, man, I was trying to feed that tiger some steak, and it bit my arm. It's like, yes, the media is going to take what you give them and take the little piece of it that is the sexy headline, and they're going to put that on Front Street. That's just kind of what the sports media does, and it's not always fair.
And you're functioning as a media member because you're doing a podcast. This broadcast to anybody that's going to listen.
And also your function as a media member is to filter through what's real and what's not. And I think we do a pretty good job of that here. Oh, wait a second. We have some news that's broken. Those of you that listen to this podcast have already heard this months ago, but now there's an official report from the Miami Herald.
Oh, so it's going to be on the bottom of the ticker?
Now it's going to be on the ticker.
It's going to be breaking
news. It was in the
news.
podcast 4 months ago, and now it's in the ticker.
Such and such said.
There's a report from the Miami Herald that Dwayne Wade is open to a return to Miami, which here is it's broken news.
I talked about this the day he signed with the Bulls. The only reason why that happened is because he and Pat Riley were not able to see eye to eye.
He was mad.
It got personal, and I'm not going to go to Denver, who's offering me more money. I'm going to go to Chicago and run with Jimmy Butler, who's like my little brother. We both went to Marquette, and maybe get a chance to be on a playoff team once they add Rajon Rondo. But nobody thought that was going to be a contending type team.
No.
And I didn't think that would represent his future for a player that won 3 championships in Miami. And as I told him, you want a statue in front of the building. And the further you get away from playing in that uniform, the longer it's going to take for it to happen.
You'll never believe this. We have another piece of breaking news.
I got one more thing on that.
News.
I got one more thing on that, too.
Okay, Mr. Rose.
Dwayne Wade learned in reverse what LeBron James learned, is that there's a culture in Miami that starts with Pat Riley to Eric Spoelstra. LeBron James felt like he wasn't getting that. That's why he went to Miami. Dwayne Wade was getting that. Then he went to Chicago, and he realized what he was missing.
Is this how things work around here?
I need to get back.
Another piece of broken news. will not be new to people that tune into Jalen Jacoby on ESPN Radio. You'll never believe this. J.J. Redick considering leaving the L.A. Clippers.
Talked about that on this program. The fiscal dynamic is this. Jamal Crawford, $13 million. Austin Rivers, $11 million. J.J. Redick, starting two guard, $7 million.
Not going to be $7 million anymore. Not going to be with the Clippers anymore. You heard it here first.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Steve Harvey was trending. He was trending. Steve Harvey is starting the 5th season of his talk show. And he wrote the staff of the talk show a letter. In order not to take just a piece of this letter out of context, I'm going to read the entire thing. This is from Steve Harvey to the staff of his talk show. Are you ready, Mr. Rose?
Let's get it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I'd like you all to review and adhere to the following notes and rules for Season 5 of my talk show. There will be no meetings in my dressing room. No stopping by or popping in. No one. Do not come to my dressing room unless invited. Do not open my dressing room door. If you open my door, expect to be removed. My security team will stop everyone from standing at my door who have the intent to see or speak to me. I want all the ambushing to stop now. That includes TV staff. You must schedule an appointment. I have been taken advantage of by my lenient policy in the past. This ends now, no more. Do not approach me while I'm in the makeup chair unless I ask to speak with you directly. Either knock or use the doorbell. I am seeking more free time for me throughout the day. Do not wait in any hallway to speak to me. I hate being ambushed. Please make an appointment. I promise I will not entertain you in the hallway, and do not attempt to walk with me. If you're reading this, yes, I mean you. Everyone, do not take offense to the new way of doing business. It is for the good of my personal life and enjoyment. Thank you all. Steve Harvey. I can see both sides of this. Soft move or boss move? Jalen Rose is now pulled down his shirt and showing his tattoo that says boss move. What about this as a boss move?
Sometimes when you manage others and you're in a position of power, you have to articulate yourself and be stern to certain individuals. And when third-party people see it, it may come off like you being a diva or you're being mean.
It does.
When you're actually doing what you feel like is in the best interest of managing people that work with you and work for you. I'm never the person that disrespects anybody. In a professional environment, when you're in his case, a couple of things did jump out at me. If he's in the makeup chair, if he's in his dressing room, if he's walking down the hall. He used the term ambush.
A lot.
Which means I'm not trying to discuss whatever is under the sun while I'm at work. And you usually take that as one person saying it to another person, but you're not taking into account that this is probably happening to this one person by 100 people.
And they brought their cousin to the set. And I mean, who knows what happened behind this? I would say that I understand what he did, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. I don't approve of how he did it in this manner. I think that he could have done this very differently. You know what I mean? If you're writing an email to the entire staff starting a new season, I don't know what other emails were before or after this, but it seems like maybe you can mix in a couple compliments. You know, soften up the blow. Hey, really excited about the new season. This is going to be great. We're going to make some changes. And then add this somewhere in there. It just seems sort of disrespectful in tone. There is an anger to it. If I receive that email, I don't say, oh, I'm excited to work with this guy tomorrow. And I also have to add this. I'm a producer. You know what I mean? I'm a producer. And when you get sort of like to the top level of producing, your relationship with talent is very important. And there are going to be times when we are working on a show where I need to talk to you immediately. I don't need to schedule a meeting. You don't have to have a security outside the door. It's like we're partners on this. Help me help you. Help me. Maybe this guest just canceled. I just schedule a meeting to tell you the guest canceled. Like there are emergencies in a television environment that require immediate access. And I believe that there should be some people on this list that he's not talking to, but he made it very clear he is talking to everyone. That's just kind of how I feel from both sides of it. You can understand that. It's like it's not what you do, it's how you do it. But at the same time, Steve Harvey was the man who put his arm around me one of the greatest moments of my life when we won Celebrity Family Feud.
And all I know is this, like, when you're in a position of power, and that could be personal, professional, you could be a leader of a team, you could be a leader of a group. Regardless, there are things that you have to make decisions about that you feel represent the best interests of everyone. And because you're saying it, of course you're going to make some people mad at you.
Sure. You got to set boundaries. Like, I could argue for this too. He's setting boundaries. He's being very clear. He's saying, look, I don't enjoy the experience of doing this show. We're going into a new season. I need to make some changes for me and for all of you to make the show better.
And I'm pretty sure he needs all of the time to breathe he can because he's on 15,000 shows.
Every day. Every day he's on 15,000 shows. Yeah. Another thing, don't call it my talk show. Call it our talk show. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. But I love me some Steve Harvey. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Whenever there's statue news, we turn to not ESPN, but the world's senior statue analyst, Jalen Anthony Rose. Senior statue analyst. Peyton Manning is going to be celebrated with a statue in Indianapolis next season. Is it too soon for a Peyton Manning statue?
It's not too soon. It's well-deserved. As somebody that lived in Indianapolis for almost 6 years, a lot of the time he was playing there. I'm a huge fan of his. He helped change the dynamics of how we see Colts football. He went on to be a Hall of Famer and an all-time great, delivered a championship to that city. It's only right that Peyton Manning has a statue in front of Lucas Oil Arena.
I disagree with you. However, I'm a junior statue analyst, so who cares? We all know what happened. Lil Bow Wow put up a post on IG of a private plane on the tarmac with the caption traveling to New York. And then he was later photoed in coach on a commercial flight, and he was lambasted all over the internet. Well, he responded to all of this on Ebro in the morning. Here's Bow Wow.
Off top, I love it because people don't understand the scientific method to my madness.
Oh, my God.
They really don't understand the scientific method to my madness. Number one,
the science.
I'm about to have the biggest show on WeTV, period. Period. I'm saying that right now, period. So it's a scientific method to my madness. You got to just watch the show.
You got to just watch the show. Is there scientific method to Bow Wow's madness? Or is the method just, I tried to act rich?
Well, these are a couple of different things because he didn't directly answer the question.
No, he did not. Not even close. No.
He basically, as you acknowledged, said there's a scientific method to his madness. He said that twice while he was trying to think of the answer to the question.
Like he didn't know it was coming.
And then he said, I'm going to have the biggest show. Stay tuned. Which are separate and equal. What he should have did was the real. He's perpetrating a fraud and got caught.
That's what happened. You know, but it's hard. I can understand why he didn't do that, but I do think long term he will be more loved if he just owned it. Yeah.
Here's what people have to do. The person you are off wax, if you are that person on wax, and or if you're not, everybody can see through it.
We can see through it.
Like, things have changed in multimedia.
Yes.
It's called social media. So you might as well be who you are.
You don't have to front. You can't. You used to be able to fake it
till you make it.
You could just give bits and pieces of your personality and your inner life out. Just little bits and pieces. That was back in the day.
We want to know what makes you tick, and social media allows us to do that.
We're gonna find out.
Are you going to the movies? What you watching on TV? Who you're dating? What makes you tick? What you like to wear? Like, these are the things that are personality traits when you're in the public eye. And he knows this because he's been in the public eye and successful at it since
like 6.
a youth. All he had to do was just own it. That still, by the way, doesn't stop it from being a good show.
No.
It still had him trending for a couple of days.
Yeah, but there's also something to be said for this. Like, he's trying to make it seem like this is all part of promoting the show. But do you know what that is? That's having a frying pan, dropping an egg in there, breaking the yolk, and being like, you know what? Now we're making scrambled eggs. He's just trying to make the best of what he has in front of him. He's like, all right, I'm trending. Like, right now, my name is trending internationally. Let me just try to spin that into something that's good for me. And how can I blame that kind of hustle? I still won't be watching that show, though, will you?
It's a reality show?
Yeah.
I just don't get into reality shows. I ain't mad at them, but it's just not my thing.
You know what show I do love?
I like to think when I watch television.
You know what show I love
or
to watch
sports.
and think? You know what makes me think about sports?
The Kardashians.
Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
We play a simple game here. It's called Soft Move or Boss Move. Doesn't need to be explained. P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy is being sued by his former personal chef. She is claiming that she was forced to deliver post-coital snacks to a naked Puff Daddy, and he would ask her questions about his nude anatomy. What? Soft move or boss move?
It sounds like that's sexual harassment?
That's a soft move. That sounds like sexual harassment to me. If someone that works for you is forced to see you naked, then that is not a safe working environment whatsoever. However, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. If he put a robe on, then it's a boss move.
If he put a robe on, then it's this
He's just
empire.
getting a snack. He's just getting a snack after coitus. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with post-coital snacks, but you do not have to involve the deliverer in your coitus. Next. Cam Newton had a birthday, turned 28. Congratulations for Cam. He was out in the Caribbean, I believe, with his boys and his girlfriend, his baby mother. And they enjoyed themselves. And do you know how I know they enjoyed themselves? Because they produced a professionally produced music video documenting their vacation and uploading it to the internet. Professional music video documenting your vacation, soft move or boss move?
Boss move.
Boss move for sure.
It's his birthday, right?
Yeah.
Here's a perfect example of what we were talking about. He's owning who he is. From the music that was being played to enjoying the family that's around him, the friends that's around him. I don't see any problem with it at all.
No, it was nice. I mean, I do personally think it's a little bit corny to put like that much time and effort and money into showing everyone else what your vacation looked like. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm not Cam Newton. But I wouldn't do that personally, but I do appreciate it.
But also, too, you got to look at it this way. You think he was the person taking the time to edit and cut that stuff?
Probably not.
Okay.
He's probably the one who's paying for it. They rode ATVs. Would you go on an ATV ride with your boys?
I would, absolutely.
What about he was on that jet ski thing that kind of shoots you up above the water about 10 feet?
I'm not going to be able to do it.
I didn't think you were going to be able to do that one.
The time I want to leave the ground is on an airplane.
They made special finger gloves for your thumb and your 2 forefingers solely with the purpose of eating Cheetos as not to get the Cheeto cheese on your fingers. Jalen Rose, I know this is something that is very important to you. Putting on special finger gloves to eat Cheetos, soft move or boss move?
Soft move.
Yeah. It's just too much time. Putting on 3 individual Cheeto gloves. Like,
look at it this way.
To eat a bag of Cheetos.
Now look at it this way. When do you eat after you put on gloves? Thank you. That's why it's a soft move.
I don't do that. I'm not going surfing in the Pacific Ocean. I don't need to get ready for this experience. I don't need gloves on before eating. Next. Julio Jones was filmed by TMZ Sports outside of a club in LA. He had a little fanny pack around, like a little, not even around his waist, like kind of like a sort of lower chest area. I'm sure it was designer. He had 2 phones in it and, some glasses, sort of carry his possessions. Fanny pack, soft move or boss move?
Boss move. Trying to keep up with his items.
The functionality of it, I can respect. I can respect the functionality of it. When you do have 2 phones, and you got
I've been
glasses,
that guy. Like, where my phone? Where my charger?
Yes. So you carry a backpack. I don't like to carry anything, so I pocket everything, and I do sometimes have big chunky pockets, and it bothers me. However, it doesn't bother me so much that I'm going to put on a fanny pack. Fanny pack is a soft move, Jalen. How many times do you want a fanny pack in your life? Exactly.
But just because I wouldn't do it, that doesn't mean I can't appreciate somebody else doing it. I personally would have carried a backpack.
Me too. Hard to dance with a backpack on. Ty Lue said that the Cleveland Cavaliers sometimes forget their defensive responsibilities, but never forget their long, intricate handshakes with their teammates. Having long, intricate handshakes with your teammates, soft move or boss move?
Boss move. And the thing that I appreciate, because this is led by LeBron James, they can get a guy out of the D-League, and he got a handshake with LeBron.
In 30 seconds.
And he remembers each one, and they're different. I respect that. That creates a level of camaraderie amongst a basketball team.
If I was on the team, right, which I'm not, I don't know if you know, I'm not on the Cavs, but I was watching the Wizards and the Celtics, and after the Wizards lost by 22 or whatever, and he got blown out the entire game, walking off the floor, I saw two Wizards players doing a sort of unenthusiastic version of their handshake, and it was they kind of both mailed it in. I feel like I would instill a policy that we're only doing intricate handshakes after wins. Is that fair?
No.
Because you can't do it. You can't do it halfway. Ain't no such thing as a halfway intricate handshake. They're just kind of going through the motions. It's ridiculous.
What if you were the guy that was coming to the aid of one of your teammates who just made a terrible play at the end of the game? Dribbled it off his foot, missed a game-winning shot. But I agree with you. No elaborate handshakes after we just got thumped.
Thank you.
We're speaking the same language.
Also, you know that I would never come to the aid of a teammate. Come on, it's crazy. The latest Odell Beckham tattoo news prior to today was that he had a lifelike Michael Jackson tattoo on his leg. The latest today, breaking Odell Beckham tattoo news. There's a picture of him on the internet getting a tattoo on his butt cheek. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
Either he has too much time on his hands, or is he the first public figure that we've discussed this about as an athlete? Having a tattoo in that location?
I believe so.
Things that make you say,
Soft move or boss move?
Definitely a soft move.
I agree. Yep. As we do, days when we're off radio and we just record the television show, we always give the people what they want, especially our podcast listeners.
We're not done.
We're not done.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that attended the Detroit live event. All of you, we enjoyed that evening so much. It was so nice to meet you, to entertain you, to interact with you. It was a great venue, and it was a great weekend. Shout out to our staff.
Shout out.
And everybody that came. Secondly, if you're listening to this podcast, you are our people. Help us. When you go, just go to iTunes, rate us with 5 stars, and write a review. Please do so. It helps our iTunes standing, and we're very competitive. So make sure you leave a rating and a review on iTunes. We would appreciate that. We say we get the people what we want here, so we take your questions on voicemail and on Twitter to get the people what they want. Let's listen to the first voicemail.
Hey, Jalen Jacoby. I'm on IFLscience.com, and this is very serious. I'm reading that there's a deer photograph gnawing on human remains for the first time, and I'm very concerned. I need to know if this is more pertinent in the incoming kangaroo apocalypse. Please let me know. Keep getting them checks. Bye.
When you're hungry, you're not picky. That's what I would say to that.
And that's why they call living in the wildlife?
Wild animals. Free snacks? Don't be picky.
No question.
You know? I don't think the deer killed the human. And also, I'm just going the other direction if I see a deer eating human remains. I'm going the other way. However, there was a kangaroo attack at a safari park in Alabama. A kangaroo grabbed and bit a 9-year-old girl in Alabama. And y'all think I'm kidding about the kangaroo apocalypse. Next question is from Twitter. This is from Trevor. How realistic is Milwaukee as a Chris Paul destination this summer? Also, if not CP3, what is the likelihood of Kyle Lowry to the Bucks? Without looking, I can tell that Trevor is from Wisconsin. What do you think about a potential new point guard for the Bucks?
If Chris Paul leaves the Los Angeles Clippers to play basketball, it's going to cost him $50 million.
A sign and trade is not outside the realm of possibility, but it's very unlikely.
I would think the level of respect that he's earned, not only with the fans and his teammates, but also the level of autonomy that he has in the locker room and with head coach Doc Rivers, allows him to have a comfort zone to go with those funds that I don't think, as somebody for public consumption, that we respectfully see him be a family man, a grandson, a son, a husband, a father, a brother. I don't think he's going to uproot his family and cost himself $50 million.
What about Kyle Lowry?
Kyle Lowry's situation is separate but equal.
It's more realistic, I believe.
It's not more realistic. If the Toronto Raptors are going to offer him $205 million, he'll be in Toronto. If they're going to offer him the same amount of money that he can get in Philly, there's your decision.
Let's listen to the next voicemail.
What up, though? Jalen and Jacoby, what's happening, man? This is D from Oakland, California. You know what I mean? Big shout out. We've been saying what up, though, I think, for longer than Detroit, but I don't know. We're going to have to fight over that. But anyway, my question, soft move or boss move? I was about to get a girl's number. She told me she had a dude, but she didn't care. She was going to give me the number anyway. I thought about it, and then I said, nah, keep the number, because I just went through a breakup over that type of stuff myself. So, soft move or boss move for telling her no, thinking about him and my situation? Or should I have got the number and not cared about it and just did what I was supposed to do? Because now I feel some type of way. Anyway, keep giving the people what they want. Get them checks, man. All right, man.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate the love. First and foremost, it's always a boss move when you know you have options, but you're mature enough to be selective with them. Mm-hmm. Immature people go around trying to snatch every phone number, trying to sleep with everybody, male and female. Yep. And here's another thing that I would like to say. I appreciate him putting that on wax. And my advice to him is only suckers try to holler at a female and or vice versa for women when they know that that person's in a relationship with somebody else.
What's the best case scenario? They leave that person for you, and then you have a girlfriend that you know is susceptible to leaving you. Yeah. Like, I don't understand what the best possible scenario is.
If they cheated on their mate, guess what? They're going to cheat on you.
Thanks for the call. Jalen always does say that Detroit is just like Oakland.
That's right.
Next question from Twitter. This is from ATN. He says, what player did Jalen know he could score on every time? Someone to mark the calendar for.
I probably was that person for some people.
That's a great answer.
I was there when Kobe got his career high. I was there when LeBron got his career high. It just so happened that they're two of the top 10 players of all time. So don't think you're going to roll up on me and get buckets.
You were not a defensive stopper.
Let me just say that.
You were not a defensive stopper.
When you play basketball, and I prided myself on being a versatile offensive performer, it doesn't matter who's standing in front of you. You feel like it's a make or miss league. And so I never felt like somebody could lock me down. So I didn't necessarily feel more confident when there was a weak defender, because you're still shooting a basketball sometimes 20-plus feet from the hoop, or you're going between the legs, behind the back, the skill that comes into the play. And usually once you get a clean look, you feel like it's going in regardless.
What about the other end of that question? Who is someone that you're like, hard to score on them? Just someone, like they're out there. There's people that even though they're good defenders, you can score on, but there's sometimes just bad fits for your game and their defense.
I don't truly have an answer.
I knew you were going to say that. You're the best. I love doing this show with you. You really mean that, too. I know you. You really mean, like,
yeah,
what do you mean? Like, someone that I was, like, worried about stopping me with a basketball?
Who can I post up or shoot over? Like, I don't know. That person doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Of course not. Of course not. Next, we have Anthony from Twitter. He says, what if it's Cavs Warriors in the finals for the next 5 years? Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
Of course. As long as it's good basketball, if whatever the two teams are that get through those conferences, if they keep this stupid conference structure in the next 5 years, which they probably won't, and they shouldn't, I'm 100% fine with it. Watching the same teams go against each other 8 straight years, I would love it.
And I'm glad you touched on a point that we continue to stress on this show. It's going to look a lot like this as long as the all-star level players on both teams can stay healthy. Mm-hmm. And until the league decides that you can reward the person that wins the division. But once the playoffs come, you must seed 1 through 16. Not the best 8 teams in the conference.
No. I'm hearing this around, too.
dynamic,
And I just remember hearing it from you first. That's all I have to say about
that. That
Years
dynamic
ago.
has to be flipped upside down.
Next, we have another voicemail.
What up, though? It's Mo calling from Toronto, Ontario. With the debacle we've seen last season with Carmelo Anthony and Phil Jackson, I was just wondering, will there be any more GMs handing out no trade clause? I'm looking at you, Clippers. Keep giving the people what they want.
That's a good question, because Chris Paul is going to be getting a no trade clause.
Really? What makes you say that?
He's a future Hall of Fame player. He's going to have options to go elsewhere, but not for the same amount of money. He would possibly do a sign and trade if it wasn't going to cost him some bread, but the Clippers aren't going to do that. No. And when you're in negotiations, it's all about leverage. And who's one of his best friends? LeBron James. Who's another one of his best friends? Carmelo Anthony. They both are two of the three individuals in the entire NBA, along with Dirk, to have
no trade clauses. How? Okay, let me ask you this then. Will Steph Curry get a no trade clause?
This is something that's trending north for the league.
Really?
You will now see players not only take their destiny into their own hands as it relates to free agency and joining up with one another, like we saw with KD going to the Golden State Warriors. You will also see said player tell team, I'm going to take your max dollars, but you're going to give me a no trade clause because I'm not going to be here 1 or 2 years, and then you just ship me somewhere I don't want to go.
I think Steph Curry would be in a perfect position to demand a no trade clause, and if I'm the Warriors, I would give it to him. Do you think that he will sign with a no trade clause?
I do. Again, when I say this is trending north, I mean there will be legions of players in the game that have it. It's not going to just be like the 5 players. It's going to be about 15 or 20 guys with no trade clauses.
It's going to make it a lot more difficult for NBA GMs to sort of restock or rebuild or make deadline trades or sort of, make that run for the championship, add Ibaka and Tucker and that sort of thing. Interesting.
And here's going to be the fallout. I'm going to put something else on wax. The guy that goes for it and the team denies it, that still has the courage to bounce on that team because he didn't get it. Like Melo would have did with the Knicks. That's why they gave it to him.
It might be one of those negotiation points that you end up giving up at the end. You might be, I need a no trade clause, and they put the max money in front of you, and you're like, I think I'll be all right. You're not going to trade me, right?
This is why when KD left, he did it a year prior to the new NBA rules that are instituted. So when you see a Gordon Hayward, a Paul George, Chris Paul, it's going to cost these players $40 to $50 million in a year on their contract to actually bounce. That's something to think about.
Interesting. Remember where you heard it first, Jalen Jacoby on ESPN Radio. One more voicemail.
What up, though? This is Scuba from Sacktown. Yo, man, I'm on my 10-minute break. I got a long day ahead of me, so I got to hurry up. I'm a mailman, man. I probably shouldn't even be making this call, but, I got to do this right quick. I called the show a long time ago, and my boy didn't believe me. I tried to show him, and you guys took it off the YouTube page, man, so now I look like a liar. Basically, I was just telling them that we family because I listen to y'all every day, Jalen and Jacoby. It's the best podcast that there is. Anyways, man, will you just please tell my boys, man, that we family and you show love, and that's why I was on the show, and that's why I'm on the show again, because you continue to give the people what they want. Holla!
Of course, you're going to get back on this show. Our favorite listeners are the people who listen every day. But there's another class of that. The VIP favorites.
Do it at work.
Listening at work. Getting paid to listen to Jalen and Jacoby is a boss move. Yep. And we love our mail carriers across the country.
And if you can't physically do it at your place of employment, the second level is doing it en route and or when you're leaving.
Exactly. Yep. But as long as you're doing it every day. Thank you so much for listening to
and
the
welcome
Jalen
to the family, absolutely.
and Jacoby podcast. Make sure you leave a high 5-star rating and a review on iTunes. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow because
We're not done. We're not done.